Yoga offers us an opportunity to regulate our appetite. Through doing these 9 poses, you'll find more balance in your diet and in your eating. This practice offers 9 different yoga poses that allow us to regulate our hunger. Unlike other forms of Western exercise, yoga is a very effective way of controlling your appetite. We'll start in child's pose or downward facing dog. As you come to either child's pose, allow your head to be supported. So if you need a block or some support under your forehead, please grab that. Or downward facing dog. The number 1 pose here for you to check in, either child's pose or downward facing dog, allows you to bring your attention and your awareness to the practice. As you draw your awareness now to the breath, as you draw the breath in through the nose and out through the nose, you attune to the body. And just through regulating the breath, you start to bring that awareness to what feels right in your body, how you can make adjustments in your poses. Take 3 more breaths in whatever pose that you have chosen. Keep the breath bright and full. 2 more. Yoga allows us to control our cravings, our hunger, our binges. Walk yourself to the top of the mat as you're ready. This occurs because of these so-called satiety hormones. And through these hormones, we are able to balance, we're able to see an increase in metabolism while a desire for our food intake decreases. And that's because of a hormone called leptin. So as you come to the front of the mat, we'll work on our second pose, which is called Cobra Pose. To get there, you can come right to your belly if you wish instead, or you can come in more movement. So your choice. Your choice. Come to your belly if you wish, or through movement, standing tall, inhale, take your arms up, reach up and slightly back so you get nice fullness in the front side of the body. Exhale, come to the forward fold. Step your right foot back, step your left foot back. Come to a plank position or all fours position and slowly make your way down. So we'll all meet on our belly here. Place your hands right alongside your ribs. Press your toenails down as you inhale, rise up, exhale, soften. Let's do several of these here. Inhale, lift yourself. Exhale, let your heart just soften. 2 more times. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, soften. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, soften. Now, to continue the strengthening action of the back muscles, lift your hands up off the mat, keeping the arms in the same position. Inhale, lift up without the use of your hands. Exhale, soften. 2 more times. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, soften. 1 more time. Inhale, and exhale. We'll meet at the front of the mat. You can come to downward facing dog to step your way to the very top of the mat. Place your hands to your low back and lift yourself up. Come to a wide stance. As you step wide on your mat, engage the legs very fully. In these poses, we bring our attention to our breath. Our breath allows us to engage so much more fully. So as you turn your right toes out, hug your feet in toward each other. As you draw your feet in toward each other, just soften down. Keep the legs hugging in toward each other. Interlace your fingers behind you. With the knuckles just pressing on the back, open your chest nicely. Take your gaze up. Now lead with your heart toward your inner right knee as you just soften down. Keep the strength of the legs pulling in toward each other. You soften down and get a nice lift to the interlaced fingers if you wish, with a slight bend to the elbows so you still continue to open the heart so fully. Root down to inhale and lift yourself up. Release your hands. Parallel your feet again. As you engage in the practice, as you bring more awareness, more mindfulness, more focus on the breath, as you come into these poses, you start to bring that attentiveness to this overall knowledge of the body, to this overall sense of the self. As you bend your knee to come to the opposite side, pull the legs in toward each other, check the alignment of the front heel to the back arch, and interlace your fingers behind your back with the elbows hugging in. Open your heart so fully. Now draw down toward the inner left knee as you just soften so fully. Keep the back leg strong. Take the interlaced fingers slightly up with the elbows bent as you allow your breath to just fully bring your awareness into more fullness in the pose. Soften a little bit more as you keep the strength in the back leg. From the strength of the back leg, root down to lift yourself up out of the pose. Release your hands. We were able to get nice length in that pose, nice openness in the chest through both the Cobra Pose and the Humble Warrior Pose that we just did. Now we'll take our attention to number 4, Vakanasana. Turn your right toes out, hug the legs in toward each other. Keep that strong action as you bend your knee. Take your right forearm to the top of the thigh. Pause here to once again get that strong engagement in the legs. Lift your underside ribs up. Find fullness here in the side body, fullness in the underside body. Reach your left arm up and over your head. Keep a nice fullness both in your breath, in the pose. Soften just a little bit deeper by drawing the front thigh down a little bit more. Root down to inhale and rise up. Exhale, release your hands. Have the right foot parallel to the back edge of the mat. The left foot moves parallel to the long edge of the mat as you come into the form of the pose. Take your forearm down again. Some of you can go deeper in the pose by taking your hand to a block or the floor. Lift the underside ribs up. Find fullness in your breath as you expand more fully. Reach your right arm up. Reach your right arm over your head and just feel this length that you get from the pelvis to the crown of the head, now out through the fingertips. You feel like you're expanding so fully. We'll use that expansion now for a twist. So root down to lift yourself up out of the pose. Exhale, release your hands. Come to all fours position on your mat. So as you come to all fours position, Step your right foot right between your hands. Come up to a lunge pose where you're just softening into the pose. You're just drawing yourself down slightly. With the length that we got in the side body, now let's do a little twist here. So reach your left arm up. Now take the elbow just down to the outer knee. Take your hands in a prayer pose. Just get this nice fullness here in the chest. An alternative is to take your left hand to the outer right knee, twisting. Allow for a pose that really works for you. Release your hands and come to all fours position. We'll do a twisting lunge on the opposite side. So take your left foot forward, come up to a low lunge, soften yourself to come into the pose. As you come into the pose, just allow your pelvis to softly draw down. As you keep your back leg very strong, reach your right arm up. Take your hand to the outer knee or come to a prayer pose, your choice. Have a nice fullness in your breath. Use the fullness of the length on the left side and the right side as you come to a deeper expression of the pose. And release your hands down to the mat. Make your way to a standing position. I always like stepping off the mat to balance. Balance positions are very important to mindfulness. And of course, mindfulness leads to our regulation and control of our appetite. So as we become more mindful through the yoga poses, especially in a balanced pose, you'll find yourself so much more attentive. You can concentrate better. You are able to sleep better. You reduce stress and you feel more balanced both on the mat and off the mat. Now take your attention to your left foot and allow your left leg to be really strong and engaged. As you slowly take the weight off of your right foot, as you're ready, you can lift your right foot up and stay balanced there. See how you can park your foot perhaps to the inner thigh or the inner ankle. However, you can keep the balance on one leg. And as you keep the balance on one leg, allow for a nice lift of your arms, openness of the upper chest, come to more fullness in the breath. In your own time, you can release your hands and release your foot with grace. Come to 2 feet and allow a nice ease in your breath. Begin to root down through the opposite leg to support you fully. The balance practice allows that awareness and attentiveness. Through that attention to detail, we refine our practice. We find ease. We sleep better. As you're ready, you can lift your foot up and come very slowly to the form of the tree pose that works for you, keeping a nice steadiness in the standing leg. As we work on the sixth pose in the practice to regulate our appetite, you bring your attention to the breath, to finding steadiness, to create mindfulness. As you're ready, you can slowly release your hands down And release your foot down to come to Tadasana, the mountain pose. Let's now come to a seated pose. In the seated pose, bend your right leg, have your left leg straight. Through the actions that we've done to elongate the side body, it's helping us in the twist. Why do we do a twist when we're in a practice, focusing on our appetite? As you twist, the twist is allowing you to come to that awareness of this reduced space for your belly. So you feel fuller. So as you twist toward your right knee, you can take your left hand to the outer knee. If you'd like to go deeper, of course you can by taking your hand to the outer knee, or you can take your hands into a prayer position. There are lots of alternatives here. We don't want to overdo it in twists. Just allow the right hand to help you lengthen the spine, and through that length, you'll be able to achieve just a little bit more fullness in your twist. Release out of the pose by extending your right leg. Bend your left leg and plant your foot nicely. For some of us, I often see that some people have their feet really close together, which would be much more accessible for many of us. But if you're practicing quite a bit, maybe you can take your foot at least hip distance apart from your extended leg, or even more for some of us. So, with the left knee bent and the left hand behind your back, draw into the twist. So the right hand is pulling the knee in toward the midline, but your bent left leg is actually very active. It's working against the action of the hand, it's resisting the action of the hand. As you draw into the twist, again, your variation, you can take the elbow to the outside of the knee if you wish, or come to the prayer pose, a variation that appeals to you. But see if you can keep coming forward on your sit bones with a strong action in your left hand. And I like coming up to the fingertip tops there on the left hand so I can get as much length to the side body as possible. Release yourself out of the twist. Now, number 8 is yet another twist. I love twist in a practice like this because you feel so much more full. You don't feel like your belly needs a lot of food after a practice with a lot of twist. So come to lie on your back with your knees bent. Extend your left leg flat and draw your right knee in just slightly. You can interlace your fingers here at the knee. Draw your knee across the midline as you reach the right knee over to the left side. And again, it doesn't have to be a deep twist here. We're keeping the left leg very active, toes spread. We're keeping the right shoulder planted and just encouraging fullness to the breath. Come back to release your right foot down and extend the legs. Pause here for a moment. Feel the difference. It's that awareness, it's that mindfulness that we look for in the yoga practice. So, keeping that awareness, bend your knee, draw it in. As you take your right hand to the outer knee, extend your left arm so that you can anchor your left shoulder as you draw the knee across the midline. You can take your gaze toward the extended left hand if you wish. Release yourself out of the pose. Extend your leg, and again, just check in to find how, after getting a nice length through the supine twist, after getting length in the supine twist through the right side and the left side, you feel so much more fullness on the sides. Now let's extend that fullness to the front side of the body. Bend both knees, plant your feet. Press your elbows down as if your arms are in this robot form to come to a bridge pose. As you press your elbows firmly into the mat, the whole upper arm is working nicely as you work your legs, and almost like you're trying to drag your heels toward your heart. Keep the legs very active. So the back side of the legs, the hamstrings are really working nicely as you're pulling the feet isometrically in toward your heart to lift the heart higher. This nice fullness that you get allows you, as you release your pelvis down to the mat, you have this fullness, this completeness, as you extend your feet out, and just soften. Allow your breath to flow very easily. This practice of 9 different poses, wherein we focus on the breath and balance and engagement and awareness. These actions that we did makes us feel very satiated. As you breathe in and out through the nose, you find a balanced action in the breath. These yoga poses give us a sense of balanced action. As we perform these postures, these asanas, and bring our attention to the practice, we feel there's a calmness that results. We don't feel the need to binge. These cravings that often come with stress are reduced. Through the ease that the practice gives us, we can take the balanced actions of yoga into balanced actions in our eating, in our behaviors off the mat. This time of rest after the practice is very important to assimilate these actions. To maintain the mindfulness that you'll need in your daily activities. In your appetite and your next meal. So you can stay in Shavasana, this resting pose. If you must, move on to the activities of your day very slowly and mindfully. Come to a seated pose and bring your awareness back to your room. Place your hands right in front of your heart. We honor the teachings that yoga brings to us, these teachings of great mindfulness that brings balance to our lives. Namaste.